This is the Dover Download Podcast. My name is Christopher Parker, and for the past 25 years, I've had the pleasure of working with, learning from, and talking to a variety of volunteer, staff, and community members. This podcast explores conversations, activities, and a variety of policies and programs which exist here in Dover to improve the community in one way or another. For over 25 years, the city of Dover has had a huge asset in the center of our community, and that is the Downeaster, Amtrak train that is run by the Northern New England Passenger Rail Authority. Today, we're joined by Natalie Bogart, the Deputy Director of the Authority. Natalie, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. As I said, the Downeaster is a huge asset for us. What's it like for you to be managing that asset? What's it like to run a train, basically?
You know, our position at the Northern New England Passenger Rail Authority is we really act kind of as a liaison for the state of Maine and New Hampshire to make sure that the Amtrak service that's delivered really meets the passenger needs. And so it's a pretty exciting job. It's a very rewarding job. Not everybody rides the train, but a lot of taxpayer dollars support the train. And so we really look at our job as promoting the train itself, but also the communities that we serve. And Dover is one of the 12 communities that we serve. We actually have 12 station communities in 3 states. We operate 5 round trips daily. And last year we transported just over 550,000 riders, about 30,000 of which came to or from Dover.
That's great. You know, I don't know that I've ridden the train when it hasn't been, if not full, like 3/4 to 90% full. I mean, it really seems to be a well-regarded, well-utilized asset, not just for Dover, but all the stations on the run.
You know, with our 5 round trips a day, we really have the ability to attract a lot of different types of riders. So we have trains in the morning that arrive in Boston for commuter hours. We have people that are buying multi-ride passes and traveling up to 5 days a week. Yeah. We have a great leisure schedule. We have trains that arrive into Boston right around 8:30 in the morning that make a great day trip if you want to visit the aquarium. We have afternoon trains that are great for sporting events. And after COVID, we've really seen people's travel patterns change. And our service has really benefited from some of those changes that we've seen. We have a lot more people that are able to work on the train and be productive on the way. We have a lot of college students that use the train. And so I think that we've really found this sweet spot where we have a schedule that really matches the needs of lots of different people. You know, we offer a lot of discounts. We're obviously always trying to attract more riders. Seniors ride for 50% off, as do kids. We have a great program for people that are traveling for medical, special fares for cancer patients that need to seek treatment in Boston. And so we really try to diversify the types of people that are riding, and we've been pretty successful, which is why I think you see those high passenger counts.
I was mentioning to a friend of mine that we were chatting today, and they asked me a question to ask you, and it's not a gotcha question, don't worry. It's a logistics question. They love going to Boston and knowing that the train slides its schedule for game night to make sure you can get home. They're wondering if there's an opportunity to do that on the Portland side, because they were saying that they would have gone to a couple concerts in Portland using the Downeaster, because Thompson's Point's right there, but they didn't want to miss the end of the show because of the scheduling. And is that a you decision? Is that a Amtrak decision? Is that a CSX, which owns a lot of the track decision? How does that work?
It's always more complicated than it seems.
Yeah.
So it's all of the above. It would be a NNEPRA decision. It would be an Amtrak equipment availability question, and it would also be a permission from CSX question. But the great news is that we're currently working on a service development plan that will look at what the trajectory of the Downeaster service is over the next 15 years. And we're seeking input from the public. NNEPRA.com is a website you can go to submit feedback on the things that you would like to see.
Great.
And these are the sorts of things that we're looking at and exploring for the future. Our equipment works in a rotation. So the first train that goes to Boston is the first train that comes back. And then that's another train that goes down in the afternoon. And so really at this point, we don't have the additional equipment to be able to flex that late night schedule. But we do see Thompson's Point as a huge asset, know that they're bringing in great shows. They are building additional hotel units right at Thompson's Point, so we do have a decent schedule if you want to come and do an overnight. But we are continuing to look at those sorts of improvements for the future.
I think that from what I've seen, and you kind of hit on this, the diversity of the riders, you've got the day trippers, you've got the commuters. The one that I find interesting, and it's personally happening with my family, is my mother-in-law and her husband moved just north of Brunswick. And everything was good for 15 or so years. And then she decided it was not something she wanted to drive the length. Now her husband brings her to Brunswick. She gets on the Downeaster, comes down here. We get her off in Dover and spend time. And she gets back on and goes the other way. And it's a great asset for those types of people that just don't want to either worry about the road and other drivers or weather conditions and have that flexibility to just sit and read a book and enjoy the scenery.
Absolutely. I think accessibility is really a huge benefit to the Downeaster. Obviously, all of our equipment is handicap accessible. And then our crews, we have the best crews in the nation. They really go above and beyond with our passengers to make them have a welcome experience and help them facilitate all of the things that pop up in the course of travel. And we find consistently that our crews are ranked highest in the nation. And we're really proud of that. We think that they do a great job, and we think that our passengers think that they do a great job. And so, just in the nature of it, seniors, I think, have a very welcome experience. There's a person there that can assist them if they're a first-time rider or if they ride all of the time. So I'm glad that she's using it. I'm glad that she finds it helpful. We have a really great built-in audience of people that are traveling to Boston, but we're always kind of trying to raise awareness that we do serve 12-station communities. And while in some communities we might not be as time competitive with a vehicle, in a lot of them we are.
Right.
Dover being one of those. You can get from Portland to Dover on the train faster than you can drive.
Not only that, but you're in the heart of the community. Like, that's what I think is the real benefit, is that we're one of the few stations on the route that truly you get off and all the action's around you.
And as a mom that has 3 young kids, what we often do is hop on in Portland and we'll come to Dover to spend the day.
Yeah.
It avoids "are we there yet?" question because we can get a snack in the cafe on board.
There's a bathroom if you need it.
There's a bathroom if we need it. And then we are here. We're already here, and we can spend a whole day enjoying Dover. It's such a walkable community and a welcoming community. I took the train this morning. I got a little turned around. Somebody was there to help me, redirect me. So you have a huge asset here. People love this community. People talk about it. And we've really enjoyed our partnership with Dover over the course of time. Been a huge asset. We have a number of dedicated volunteers that come and help passengers at the station. And we're always looking for more. So if, there's people out there in the city of Dover that want to get involved with the train, whether it's welcoming passengers, there's a lot of need out there.
I'm glad you brought that up, because Steve Piper, who's been a longtime supporter and the ambassador of ambassadors, really, for Dover, we've talked a bunch about how the group he started with have moved on. Some they've moved, literally. Some have unfortunately passed away. But having that recruitment, and I know I've had conversations with you and colleagues about how we can learn from other communities. We've made some changes with the tenant in the building, the Bubby's Deli. They now are providing some coffee and bagels for the ambassadors to try to help thank them for being there. And Steve is a stalwart, but I want to make sure that we find a way to help get him some support and some colleagues of his own, because I think you're right. Getting off the station and having a welcoming face right there to say, "Welcome to Dover," and "Where are you trying to get today?" is a huge opportunity that I think we need to explore more.
Absolutely. We have different relationships with all of our station communities. Some have ambassadors there on a regular basis. Some have paid staff. Some have a combination of like a chamber of commerce. So there's a lot of good models that we can look to. And our organization, NNEPRA, is willing to compensate ambassadors with an opportunity to earn travel on the train. So we try to make it fun and make the people that are kind of there welcoming passengers have an opportunity to get on the train and experience the train and learn more about the train, so that they can just be that much more knowledgeable about the things that they're trying to help passengers do.
The other thing that I think from a partnership standpoint that shouldn't go unnoticed is you have access to grant funds that we've been trying to work on. We did one round, and we're looking at a second round to make continued improvements to the station, which, like the service, is over 25 years old. And we had a safety audit with your staff at one point, and they pointed out some concerns about railings, and we've gotten in there. We did some painting, but we have a platform maintenance opportunity coming up soon and some other stuff. And I can't stress enough the word partnership you use. It truly is. I think It's not, I can't believe NEPRA told us to do this. It's coming and saying, here's an opportunity for some grant funds. How do you apply and get it done?
Absolutely. As you noted, after 25 years of service, there's just small things that are out of sight, out of mind, but they all cost money. And, our vision for the service is for all of our facilities that we service to be kept in a really good state of good repair. Mm-hmm. And we're out there trying to make sure that the station communities have the resources that they need. And it's a partnership. And Dover has been fantastic. And we look forward to working with you on that project and, reimagining what train service means for your area. This is really a service for the communities. Mm-hmm. And so how Dover decides to promote it as an economic development tool and how the people and residents of Dover use it. Those are the things that we're really excited about.
About 5-6 years ago when we developed the wayfinding signage, part of it was riding. We actually had the consultant ride the Downeaster. I think they started in Exeter. We didn't want them to just get on it in Durham and get off. So we had them get on in Exeter. They got off in Dover and we said, okay, get to the Children's Museum. And they were like, huh. And then they had to map it out themselves. And they came to us and said, here's where we should put some wayfinding signage. Here's how someone getting off the train or parking in that parking lot or however they got to that point, here's how they got through the community. And it was an interesting exercise to see through someone else's eyes that opportunity. Because you're right. We want tourists to come in that way. We want people to learn or see some of the merchants, some of the restaurants, some of the cultural activities we have in Dover and say, I want to get there, but I don't really want to drive.
Yeah. And I think what we shouldn't take for granted too is that 30,000 people came to or from the Dover station, but 500,000 people potentially rode past Dover.
Right.
So what they see out the window matters.
Yeah.
And you guys do a great job keeping the station looking nice and having it landscaped and all of those things. And it's a beautiful downtown to ride through. And I think anecdotally, I hear all the time, like, oh, this is Dover? I had no idea all this stuff was right around. Or like, oh, look at the development in Dover. Did you see all the housing that's being built? People are excited about Dover, and we're excited about helping people get here car free.
So you chatted about the amount of time it takes to get from a point A to a point B, and you mentioned that it's pretty equivalent to drive to Dover as it is to take the Downeaster. One thing I think needs to be thought about too these days, particularly with the cost of gas, the cost of parking, et cetera, is what the fares are. It's got to be pretty comparable in that regard too, I would think.
It is. A passenger looking to travel between Dover and Boston would pay between $16 and $26. Somebody that wanted to go to Old Orchard Beach for the day could pay as low as $8. So our fares are very affordable, lots of discounts. If you're a regular rider, we have multi-ride passes that will save you money as well. So there's a lot of different options for people out there looking to travel.
And unlike driving, I can actually choose if I want to have a first-class experience as opposed to my car experience.
Absolutely. We do have a business class on board, which you get a little bit of an upgraded seat experience as well as a complimentary beverage served at your seat. And we have a great Downeaster cafe that has a lot of Maine-made products. We serve holy donuts, a lot of craft beer, gummy lobsters. So it's a really nice amenity to have on board.
So you mentioned the studies you have looking at the services. What sort of things can people expect, or what sort of things are you hoping to learn from that study?
So as I mentioned, we're doing a service development plan. It's part of a federal planning grant process. So there's some pretty prescribed things that we do look at. But in general, we've been doing some public meetings. And what we're hearing is that people want more trains and they want faster trains. And so we have a few priority projects that will be key to making any of those things happen. One of them is we are looking to relocate the station in Portland.
Right.
So the service originally started in 2001 as a Portland to Boston service. And so the Portland train station is actually on a branch line and not the main line. When we expanded service to Brunswick in 2012, it became apparent that we were backing up trains and that passengers were on board for 15 minutes in both directions longer than they would need to be if we had a mainline station. So in 2018, 2019, we really started looking at and studying what a new station on a main line would look like. And it's really important because where we are in Portland, and as you know, CSX now owns the rail line and they're moving more freight and they're moving longer freight. And so for us to be backing in and out of the main line onto this branch line ties up their railroad. And so we are stuck kind of at the capacity of 6 trips daily. So in order to get more trains, 7 and 8, which is what we are studying as part of this,
that's great.
We really need that Portland station to move. So we're continuing to work on that. We're continuing to do stakeholder engagement. We are continuing to look for discretionary funding opportunities to help fund that project. It's a great project. It will move the station closer to about 6,000 more jobs would be walkable.
That's
it
significant.
would really change the dynamic of Portland Station kind of being a little bit too far out of downtown. So we're really excited about that project. And then we're looking at ways to increase our travel speed. And so a lot of that is adding capacity to the railroad. There's a lot of sections of the railroad that are still single track, which really creates a bottleneck. It's like a one-way road. Trains can't get past each other. So the more double track that we can have, the faster the trains can go, the more flexibility we have within our scheduling. So those are the major things that we're kind of looking at as part of the service development plan. And then, we're taking suggestions about what time trains should be slotted. Like, should there be a train that comes out of Portland later at night? Is there a way to have flexible schedules? What would a skip stop look like? Would there be an express service? People are asking those sorts of things.
Okay.
So we're collecting public feedback to help us figure out what the scope really of what the things that we'll look at will be. Additionally, we are looking at doing some more ridership analysis potentially on a service north of Brunswick to Rockland. So that's a small part of the study as well.
I've got to think that maybe in an ideal world, the double track, which existed 100 years ago, wouldn't have been ripped up. And in your operations mode, or at least in CSXs, there would be a double track the full length. And that what you've really got to look at is where is it feasible to add a second track so we can have bypasses where needed.
Yep. And we are working on that with CSX. Our crews have really great insight into where these things would be helpful, being out there on the railroad every day. But there is a whole process for modeling and a partnership with CSX and some consultants that will look at, where would be the best bang for your buck? Where would you want to add it first? What would make the biggest difference in the overall scheme? And then I think we'll build that out for a more robust work program moving forward.
And how long are you expecting the study to take?
We are hoping to, it launched about a year ago. We've just kind of gotten into the public part of the program. And I think that we're expecting probably about another year before the planning portion of it wraps up.
And then once the planning portion wraps up, then you've got to fundraise, or identify funds, I should say, and then the design and implementation. So you have to figure out, I'm supposing for you have to figure out ways to keep the excitement up and to say, in the meantime, here are some ways to mitigate what will be the long-term value. Just hold on with us.
Yeah. And as you know, the political climate that we're in, there's been, change in administration. We're coming out of a funding for rail at unprecedented levels that we've never had before. We're not sure where all of those things are going to shake out.
Right.
And so the idea behind it is that kind of like we've done since the beginning, we're going to make incremental improvements to this service.
Roll up our sleeves and get it done where we can get it done.
Roll up our sleeves and get it done where we can. And, small changes have really large improvements. If we can move the Portland station and decrease our travel time by 15 minutes, last time we decreased our travel time by 15 minutes, ridership grew over 32%. So there's there's small changes. There's, added capacity that can make all the difference in flexibility of scheduling services to help us be more on time. The more on time you are, the more people want to ride. And so that will be the plan. We'll have kind of a roadmap and we'll start checking things off the list.
So I'm curious, how do you get into your line of work? How do you stumble into Patricia's office one day and say, hire me?
That's a great question.
Hopefully it wasn't that simple.
It wasn't. There was a more formal process than that. But, for me, I was a recent college graduate. And I think that there had been a piece of me that always was kind of prone towards public sector, a mission beyond the pocketbook. And so the idea of a train that transverses 12 communities in 3 states, is a direct connection to the heart of New England was something that I was excited about. I saw a marketing job. I had studied marketing and communications. And so that's how I actually joined NNEPRA. I was the marketing director for 17 years before there was kind of an opportunity as we started more of these strategic initiatives and doing more of these expansion planning to bring on kind of a second director role. So, I think part of it was luck. Part of it was being in the right place at the right time. Part of it was having a decent skill set and probably being moldable, working with Patricia and our whole NNEPRA team. We have a very small team. There's 8 of us total. We all work really hard. We all wear a lot of hats. And a lot of it's behind the scenes. And, we just do whatever we need to do to get the job done. And it's a great place to work. And the mission is important. And we're excited that it continues to grow.
Where are you headquartered? I don't know that I know that.
Oh, we are located in Portland.
Okay.
So we're about a mile from the train station.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's an easy jumping on and off point, to get up to Brunswick or to come down south if we need to. And then Brian is located in southern Maine, so he is kind of probably the face of the New Hampshire community that you see a lot. He's out and about here.
Yeah.
Most frequently.
Occasionally, he and I run into each other at restaurants and such in the area, and we're both kind of like, wait a second, we know this person. So, anything else the listener should know about the Downeaster, its service, or the upcoming?
I mean, I would just encourage everybody to visit AmtrakDowneaster.com. Our website has a lot of information about all of our station communities. Everybody knows that the train goes to Boston, but do people know that you can arrive right at Old Orchard Beach, be a block away from the sand, spend a day eating delicious pier fries and having a great, beach experience? Maybe not. What about Brunswick? You arrive there, it's a walkable community, a lot of historic places. So I would encourage people to visit our website to learn more about the offerings and what we do and get out and take a ride.
Sounds good. Thanks for coming in and joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Have a great day.
You too.
Dover has a wealth of history in its over 400 years of existence. Coming up, Mike Gillis is going to share some of that history with us.
On July 25, 1890, the Chief Justice of the New Hampshire Supreme Court, Charles Doe, delivered a long opinion that, for the first time, allowed a woman to be admitted to the state bar and practice as an attorney. That woman was Dover's Marilla Ricker, who had petitioned the court for the right to practice law in the Granite State. Who was Marilla Ricker? Marilla Marks Ricker was raised on a New Durham farm as a freethinker, a suffragist, and a Whig. After a course at Colby Academy in New London, she taught school until her marriage to John Ricker of Dover, a well-to-do farmer. John Ricker died in 1868, leaving Marilla a wealthy widow. But her wealth did not make her idle. Instead, she would leave her mark on society as a woman of many firsts. In 1870, at age 30, she became the first woman to attempt to vote in New Hampshire, asking for a ballot from the Dover city clerk. The clerk denied her request. She would continue to pay her taxes under protest as a result. No honest man doing a legitimate business need fear a woman's vote, Ricker said, but some men scare easily. Beginning in 1872, she spent several years studying in Germany, thoroughly mastering the German language. When she returned, in 1876, she began to study law in Washington, D.C. In 1882, she was admitted to the bar of the Supreme Court of the District of Columbia, taking the exam with 18 men, all of whom she outranked. She practiced in Washington for many years and was known as the prisoner's friend, due to her constant visits to jails and prisons, applying for releases and pardons, and supplying prisoners with books and writing materials. Her legal work was mostly in defense of criminals for whom she had the broadest charity, and for all the oppressed. She devoted her own resources to defend them or hire other attorneys when not able to defend them herself. In addition to chalking up a number of firsts as a practicing attorney following her successful petition in 1890, she was also the first woman to apply for an ambassador post. In 1910, she announced her candidacy for governor of New Hampshire. Many believed her candidacy would help the cause of women's suffrage, to which Marilla's life had been devoted for over 50 years. Marilla remained an ardent freethinker her entire life, traveling widely to advocate for her principles. She also wrote several books on free thought, including The Four Gospels in 1911, I Don't Know, Do You in 1915, and I Am Not Afraid, Are You in 1917. Marilla Marks Ricker died in 1920, shortly after the 19th Amendment was ratified, which finally granted women the right to vote, something she had been fighting for her entire life. In 2016, following a fundraising campaign spearheaded by the League of Women Voters of New Hampshire and the New Hampshire Women's Bar Association, And thanks to a bill sponsored by Representative Rennie Cushing, a portrait of Marilla Ricker was unveiled at the New Hampshire State House.
Thanks for listening to the Dover Download this week. If you like what you heard, subscribe through your favorite podcast aggregator. And if you have something you want to hear a topic on, let us know. Finally, this is just one of the many ways we share information about the city of Dover. You can subscribe to the Dover Downloads email newsletter every week or other newsletters that we have by going to the City of Dover homepage, www.dover.nh.gov. Have a great week.